Good morning, welcome to the
There it goes, now I got you.
try number 3.
There you go.
All right.
Good morning and welcome to the August 12th workshop of the Orlando City Council. Commissioners, as you know, we can't predict exactly what the future has in store for us, but as a city government, what we can do is make sure we're in the best possible position as a city to take advantage of the advances coming our way. And that's why we have embarked on a process to develop a future-ready roadmap for the city of Orlando. And this strategic plan, we want to ensure that we continue to advance and embrace new opportunities. So today we're going to hear from our future-ready team on how that work is going. We're going to start with Kevin Edmonds, our Chief Administrative Officer, followed by Mike Hess, our Smart City Project Director, and Charles Ramdat, our Director of Smart Cities and Special Projects. Kevin?
Morning, Mayor, Council. How are you this morning? Very happy to be here with you this morning. And welcome to our second of our Future Ready workshops. You're probably wondering, what was our first Future Ready workshop? You'll recall late this spring, we had a great presentation on digital services in Orlando.gov from Matt Brofman. So that was our first one. This second workshop will provide us an update of our plans and progress to make Orlando smarter and enhance the quality of life for our community using technology. A little history on this. Orlando's first Future Ready initiative was the creation of the GreenWorks program with the goal to be for Orlando to be the most sustainable city in the Southeast. In 2016, Orlando was a finalist for the USDOT, United States Department of Transportation, Smart Cities Challenge, and most of you will remember that. We were a small town going in against the big boys and did very good on that particular project. And that was really the impetus for getting us going and realizing that we want to become a future-ready or a smart city. One of the things that we always talk about here in Orlando is we don't want to use the term smart city. We don't want to use technology just for the sake of technology. But everything that we do, we want to make sure that we're paying a dividend back to our citizens. We want to basically be able to show, hey, this is the best way of providing customer service. This is what our citizens are looking for. So over the last 2 years, we've made great strides with an ad hoc committee. And that little ad hoc committee was basically led by Charles Ramdat, who was working with the city on a part-time basis following his retirement as the former transportation director. Very pleased, and you guys will remember this, in February of this year, council approved the hire of Mike Hess as our full-time future-ready project director. Mike Hess came from Panasonic, where he was formerly a vice president, and has significant experience doing smart city-type projects across the country. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring these gentlemen up who know what they're talking about. They're going to basically provide for you some background, a little bit of the history, but also give you an outline on where we're headed as a city, the things that we're looking to do, how community involvement is going to work, and also education of both citizens, staff, and you, our council. So with no further ado, Mike Hess.
Thank you, Kevin. And good morning, Mayor and City Council members. I'm going to check the mics on you. All right. Let's use this one. Okay. Works?
That's what the mayor says.
So as Kevin mentioned, I'm relatively new with the city, just started a few months ago. My background is in technology, engineering, sustainability space. I've been really working in that space for a few decades. But traveling all over the place and helping other cities. So I'm actually really excited about this opportunity to work for City of Orlando and work for you all and actually, really work on home. I've lived here for a long time. I've got an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old that just started school today, so I'm pretty excited about, really jumping in and helping Orlando a little bit more than I've helped a lot of other cities. So also mentioned Charles is here. I do want to give Charles some kudos. Charles has been a great mentor to me over the last few months. My background is all private sector, and Charles has really helped bring me up to speed on how the city works and really all of our smart city progress to date. So today, Charles and I really wanted to provide a pretty brief workshop to update you on what we're working on in our Future Ready initiatives. So we'll actually start with just an intro about what does smart city mean. Charles is actually going to give a history. Kevin touched on it already. Charles is going to dive a little deeper to really bring you up to speed on some of the things we've been working on over the last handful of years. And then we want to provide some updates and examples of what we are working on currently to really start to get everyone familiar with it so you all can participate as we develop this Future Ready Master Plan over the coming months. So with that, I'm going to dive right in to the introduction, which, really this is all about why are we here? Why are we talking about smart city? Why did someone create this buzzword? And the reality, it's really been driven by the growth of technology. So think about your smartphone. That is a relatively new device, and think about all of the industries that device has disrupted. And in my opinion, that's really just the beginning of what is going to be an exponential growth curve for technology over the coming years. And so a lot of cities, and my past experience was actually helping other cities with their smart city plans. A lot of cities aren't really prepared for this explosion of technology. As cities, a lot of times there's a limited budget. City can't afford to buy every new single shiny object that comes out on the marketplace. Because of the cost of technology, a lot of vendors are pushing public-private partnerships to try to bring technology to the market faster. But in reality, public-private partnerships are a lot more complex than most people really understand, including the people that are pushing for some of these relationships. So we really need to think through, are public-private partnerships right for us? Is there a more traditional approach to deploying technology in the city? And then also, it's just keeping up with all of the emerging technology. And so my past role was with a technology company. We had multi-billion-dollar R&D fund. We invested venture capital. We were connected to all of the startup incubators throughout the world. And so we always had this glimpse of what's behind the curtain. What are we going to see 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And as cities, we don't necessarily have that same R&D budget to really look at what technology is going to be coming our way. And so really this Smart Cities project is all about trying to get in front of that technology. Another issue that a lot of cities have is trying to figure out, what does smart city mean? I think the mayor mentioned this in his State of the City speech. I ask anybody here what their definition is, go Google it. The reality is it's different for everyone. So a smart city in Japan is different than a smart city in India. Even within the US, I've worked on smart city projects in Colorado Springs and Denver. Those are about an hour drive apart, but working there, each of those cities actually had a very different approach to smart cities. So the reality is we, City of Orlando, really need to think about, what does this mean to us? So this is really a big part of what our Future Ready plan is about, is defining what smart city and future ready really means to us. And instead of being one of the cities that wants to use technology but doesn't really have a plan of how to get in front of it, we really want to develop a plan of how to get in front of technology. And so we're going to talk through that a little bit later. But generally, when you hear people talk about smart cities, they talk about making the city more livable, making it healthy, more resilient, better economy. Can we empower our residents with real-time information? How can we improve our transportation? How can we be a healthier city? So those are a lot of the goals you hear in the smart city space. But one of the most important takeaways, I think, from this workshop today is that you don't necessarily need technology to do those things. So a lot of the smart city space is being approached with this new shiny object and then saying, wow, this is a great new product. Let's see if it can solve our problems. And that's sort of a backwards approach. If you try to deploy technologies for technology's sake, as Kevin mentioned, it's not going to solve all your problems. So really what we're trying to do is take a step back, focus on alignment, planning, really working with our community, figuring out what issues we want to solve, and then looking down the pipeline at future technology and try to figure out which things might fit our needs in Orlando. And so that's really I think a good segue. Mayor has sort of rebranded this Future Ready instead of Smart City, and I really like that. I mean, when you think about Smart City, does that mean we were a dumb city before? No. So really this Future Ready piece is all about that plan, thinking about what's coming, thinking about what we want to solve, and leveraging technology appropriately. So before we dive into our updates and our status of our Future Ready Master Plan, I'm going to hand it over to Charles, who is going to talk through some of our history over the last few years. Thank you, Charles.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. So Mike talked about stakeholder alignment, service delivery. There are a few other things that the mayor has directed us to consider significantly. Those are economic development, environmental stewardship, attracting the creative class, and partnerships. We found that partnerships, especially in this community, get us a long way. And then finally, how do we focus on our primary challenges, as Mike alluded to? So we do have some history of doing this in this community. If you'll recall, back in the 90s, this state, being the world's leader in tourism, had a big challenge. Tourists were getting lost. And sometimes when they got lost, bad things happened to them. And that was before the advent of the internet. And there was cable TV all around the world. So on TV in Paris, Tokyo, London, Frankfurt, Rio, there would be stories that would possibly have the impact of putting a dent in our economy. And so this community, led by this city, working with partners such as the US DOT, Florida DOT, AAA, some of our tourism partners, Avis Rental Car, and so on, got together. My predecessor, Harry Campbell, former transportation engineer, was one of the leaders, and we came up with the TravTech project, which was one of the forerunners of all in-vehicle navigation systems on the planet, okay? And that is the type of approach that we're taking to smart cities here. Going back, looking at what our big challenges are, who our stakeholders are, how can we get all the stakeholders together, put our brains together, put our resources together, and meet a challenge. So we did that in the 90s. In 2007, just over a decade ago, we did the same thing with sustainability, came up with the GreenWorks program, inspired by our mayor. It is a program that is nationally respected and internationally respected also. Was led by John April first, now by Chris Castro, very ably, very well respected. But we still weren't doing everything as a country, as a community, that we needed to do to be future ready. We had developed all these thoughts in US think tanks and universities, but they were being applied in Europe and Asia first, probably out of necessity because they were urbanizing more rapidly than we were. And then in 2014 and 2015, Secretary Anthony Fox of the US DOT decided that he needed to catalyze future-ready thinking in the US. And he embarked on a process of looking at what the future of transportation would be through 2045. And he went around the entire country, Orlando being one of the cities that he focused on. Came right here, the mayor and others hosted him over at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. And following that, Secretary Fox put together a challenge for communities across the country. Columbus won that challenge. Orlando was a finalist, but we did not consider not winning to be a loss for us. We saw it as an opportunity to learn from the finalists, the winners, and to be a winner in the future. And so we started the Smart Orlando internal group. We joined the Metro Lab partnership that was inspired by the White House to put universities and their local cities together to solve challenges for the future. And then in May 2016, our public-private partnership that had responded to Secretary Fox's challenge met down at Epcot. Epcot was envisioned by Walt Disney as a future-ready city, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. We met there